Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the breakfast news on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Let's begin with Monday headlines. BJP and its allies to meet over seat sharing for Bihar elections, meeting amidst reports that allies are pressing for a larger share. Hardik Patel to hold a massive rally in Madhya Pradesh today as he plans a pan-India transformation of his stir on reservation. Government decides to allow the land ordinance to lapse. Opposition says it's vindication of their stand that the bill is anti-farmer. US President Barack Obama invites Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif for a meeting at the White House in October. Invitation amidst escalating India-Pak tensions. And the fourth and final Grand Slam of tennis, the US Open kicks off today. Serena Williams and Nadal are the star attractions for the evening. Maria Sharapova pulls out due to injury. Well, the government will allow the land acquisition ordinance to lapse today, setting a new precedent in making key policy announcements directly to the public. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said in his monthly Mann Ki Baat that the contentious ordinance will not be repromulgated. Here's more.
The 11th edition of the Prime Minister's monthly Mann Ki Baat was big on declaration and set a new precedent. This was the first time that the Prime Minister or his government made a key policy announcement directly to the public. Talking about the contentious land acquisition bill, the Prime Minister sought to correct the anti-farmer perception about his government.
किसानों के हित के किसी भी सुझाव को मैं स्वीकार करने के लिए तैयार हूं, ये बार बार मैं कहता रहा हूं। लेकिन आज मुझे मेरे किसान भाइयों बहनों को ये कहना है कि लैंड एक्विजिशन एक्ट में सुधार की बात राज्यों की तरफ से आई, आग्रहपूर्वक आई और सबको लगता था कि गांव गरीब किसान का अगर भला करना है, खेतों तक पानी पहुंचाने के लिए नहरें बनानी है, गांव में बिजली पहुंचाने के लिए खंभे लगाने हैं, गांव के लिए सड़क बनानी है, गांव के गरीबों के लिए घर बनाने हैं, गांव के गरीब नौजवानों को रोजगार के लिए व्यवस्थाएं उपलब्ध करानी है, तो हमें ये अफसरशाही के चुंगल से कानून को निकालना पड़ेगा। और तब जाकर के सुधार का प्रस्ताव आया था। लेकिन मैंने देखा कि इतने भ्रम फैलाए गए, किसान को इतना भयभीत कर दिया गया।
The Prime Minister announced that the farmers whose land will be acquired in 13 other categories have also been exempted under various other central laws as specified in UPA's 2013 Act. The decision not to repromulgate the ordinance is a big turnaround by the Modi government and a sort of point one for its political rivals.
ऑर्डिनेंस तो समाप्त हो रहा है, लेकिन जिससे किसानों को सीधा लाभ मिलने वाला है, किसानों का सीधा आर्थिक लाभ जिससे जुड़ा हुआ है, उन 13 बिंदुओं को हम नियमों के तहत ला करके आज ही लागू कर रहे हैं, ताकि किसानों को नुकसान न हो, आर्थिक हानि न हो। और इसलिए जिन 13 बिंदुओं को लागू करना पहले के कानून में बाकी था, उसको आज हम पूरा कर रहे हैं। और मेरे किसान भाइयों बहनों को मैं विश्वास दिलाता हूं कि हमारे लिए जय जवान जय किसान ये नारा नहीं है, ये हमारा मंत्र है।
Modi also used his monthly address as a platform for reconciliation, especially addressing areas of social conflict.
गुजरात की घटनाओं ने, हिंसा के तांडव ने सारे देश को बेचैन बना दिया। और स्वाभाविक है कि गांधी और सरदार की भूमि पर कुछ भी हो जाए तो देश को सबसे पहले सदमा पहुंचता है, पीड़ा होती है। लेकिन बहुत ही कम समय में गुजरात के प्रबुद्ध सभी मेरे नागरिक भाइयों बहनों ने परिस्थिति को संभाल लिया, स्थिति को बिगड़ने से रोकने में सक्रिय भूमिका निभाई और फिर एक बार शांति के मार्ग पर गुजरात चल पड़ा। शांति, एकता, भाईचारा यही रास्ता सही है और विकास के मार्ग पर ही कंधे से कंधा मिला करके हमें चलना है। विकास ही हमारी समस्याओं का समाधान है।
But the focus of Mann Ki Baat remained largely the same: youth, women, children and the Clean India campaign. He talked about the do's and don'ts of dengue, the proposals to build Ambedkar memorials and reached out to the Dalit community. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, joining me for a chat this morning to talk about this is Parsa Venkateshwar Rao Jr., editorial consultant of the Indian newspaper. Good morning, Parsa. Thanks for joining me on the program. Was the decision to allow the land ordinance to lapse, taken with an eye on the Bihar polls?
Personally, I find going just by the merit of the decision not to re-promulgate the ordinance, I find it a very right decision on the part of the government. They stepped back and they have accepted that there are problems with it. And I think, personally, I feel it's a very bold thing. For any government to not to stand too much on prestige and step back and say, okay, we bow before popular pressure and popular sentiment, I think which is a very good thing. And the Prime Minister in his radio talk has explained the real issues of the thing. I think, unfortunately, the Land Acquisition Bill Amendment Bill was not discussed purely on its merits and demerits. It became too politicized. And of course, the opposition can now claim that they have scored a victory over the government, which is legitimate in political terms and in terms of political rhetoric. But I don't think the real issue, the substantive issue of what the Land Acquisition Bill means and how to go about it, whether it is required or not, I think those things remain unaddressed.
Indeed.
So I feel the government has done the right thing. And here the Prime Minister, I would personally think that he was very forthright and honest in his admission. And he declared it. He could have just remained silent and allowed the ordinance to lapse and say, okay, we will take it up later. He didn't adopt that kind of surreptitious way of remaining silent. I think he was forthright in explaining that we will not allow the ordinance to be promulgated, and he also assured that they will frame the rules for those 13 I think that is a very, very positive thing, So to that extent, I think full credit should be given to the Prime Minister.
Is it something that the government is going to take up at a later stage, do you believe, because this has been a very crucial bill as far as the government is concerned? So is it going to be taken up at some point in time?
I think somewhere in the government, both the Prime Minister and his ministerial colleagues, I think, pitched it a little too high and too hard, the Land Acquisition Bill. I do not think it should have been seen as that kind of a political thing, I think, which was a mistake on their part. Because the Land Acquisition Bill is a very, very, in my view, a very technical issue. Government requires land for certain things. People want to sell land for certain things. That should have been addressed case by case on merit, and see what are the pros and cons and what are the trade-offs. That issue has never happened, and that's how it should be gone about. Now, I think what they have in mind, the government, I think they're allowing the state governments, because land is a state thing, subject, and the states can formulate their own laws. According to their own needs, they will formulate the law, and then they will go ahead. I think the political investment the central government, the BJP government has made in this bill was mistaken, and I'm glad that they have stepped back with a lot of dignity.
All right. On that note, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much, Parsa, for putting things into perspective for us on that particular subject. Moving on now, our big political focus for the day is the Bihar Assembly elections. The BJP and its allies will be meeting in Delhi to thrash out a seat-sharing deal for the upcoming elections. The meeting comes in the backdrop of demands made by some of the alliance partners for a large share of seats. BJP President Amit Shah will head the meeting, which will be the first such meeting on seat sharing. LJP and RLSP Presidents Ramvilas Paswan and Upendra Kushwaha, both union ministers, besides HAM Secular Chief Jitan Ram Manji, are likely to attend the meeting. Reports say that the BJP is keen to wrap up seat-sharing talks by the first week of September, since elections are likely to be held either in October or November this year. Meanwhile, the Grand Alliance of the JDU, RJD and the Congress got into election mode on Sunday, addressing its first rally in Patna. With the Bihar Assembly polls promising to be a battle of wits between the alliance and the BJP-led NDA, everyone got a glimpse of what is to be expected between them. The trio of Sonia Gandhi, Lalu Prasad and Nitish Kumar gave a word-for-word and policy-wise rebuttal to the NDA's star campaigner, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Here's more.
A massive show of strength. The first joint rally of the Grand Secular Alliance in Bihar, the Swabhiman rally. The Patna rally saw big names in attendance. Sonia Gandhi, Nitish Kumar, Lalu Prasad and Sharad Yadav. Standing together, standing tall against one man, Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
बिहार की जनता का प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी की सरकार से विश्वास उठ चुका है.
One after the other, all of them lashed out at the Modi government. Congress President Sonia Gandhi took on the Prime Minister, saying he has done little, only slashing allocations to all major social security schemes, including Manrega.
बिहार को और अधिक आर्थिक सहयोग की जरूरत है, जो उसे मिलना ही चाहिए. यह उसका हक है, आपका हक है. मोदी सरकार अपना एक चौथाई समय खत्म कर चुकी है, लेकिन अभी तक शोबाजी के अलावा क्या किया है? कुछ नहीं किया.
Targeting Modi for his DNA remarks, the alliance partners said the Prime Minister has let down the people of Bihar by showing them in a bad light.
अरे जो बिहार का इतिहास है, वो सिर्फ देश का इतिहास नहीं है, कई मायनों में मानव सभ्यता का इतिहास है. और हमारा डीएनए गड़बड़. भगवान बुद्ध को ज्ञान प्राप्त कराने वाली धरती, भगवान महावीर की धरती, किनकी धरती? गुरु गोविंद सिंह का जन्म स्थान. ये वो बिहार है और इसका डीएनए खराब है.
लगता है नीतीश कुमार लालू इकट्ठा हो गए तो कानून व्यवस्था खराब है. अभी क्या हालत है गुजरात का? अरे बताओ ना मोदी जी, गुजरात का हालत क्या है? सैकड़ों जान चला गया, शूट एंड फाइट है.
प्रधानमंत्री मोदी की
Claiming victory on the issue of land bill, the leaders said the people have proven their mettle, forcing the government to bow to their will.
मोदी सरकार किसान विरोधी सरकार है, जो किसानों की जमीन छीनकर अपने चंद अमीर दोस्तों में बांटना चाहती है. देश के किसानों के हकों की रक्षा के लिए हम सभी ने संसद में लड़ाई लड़ी और आखिर में सरकार को झुकना पड़ा.
Apart from attacking Prime Minister Narendra Modi and making their own election promises to the people of Bihar in the Swabhiman rally, the alliance partners of the Grand Coalition were also busy exhorting their followers to stay united. Perhaps an indication of the biggest challenge faced by this coalition in the battle for Bihar. With camera person Sudhanshu, Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV, Patna.
Well, joining me for a chat this morning is our correspondent Vishal Dahiya from Patna. Vishal, the battle for Bihar is really heating up. We saw rallies being addressed by Lalu Prasad Yadav as well as Nitish Kumar and Sonia Gandhi yesterday. And there were quite a few heated remarks that were made as well. But, the Grand Alliance has already sorted out their seat-sharing mantra for Bihar. It is the time of the NDA today, of course, to try and thrash out those differences and figure out what kind of seats that they're going to share amongst themselves.
Well, yes, you're right, Frank. As far as seat sharing goes, then the Grand Alliance of Congress, RJD, and JDU, that also includes Samajwadi Party, which has got 5 seats out of 243. They've, they're past this mark of ensuring that the sharing of seats is taken care of. But the NDA alliance now, which includes smaller partners such as Jitendra Majhi's party, as well as Ramvilas Paswan's LJP, and Kushwaha, the union minister, his party as well. They have to sort out their differences. They have to ensure that they are on the same page as well. Now, this is something which has been hanging fire for quite some time in the NDA camp. And we're hoping that the meeting which takes place today will finally conclude the seat sharing between these parties. But then One very important aspect which has come out of yesterday's rally is the very fact that the presence of these leaders of RJD, JDU, Congress and Samajwadi Party on one particular stage. This was something which was aimed at sending a message to their own electorate as well. Although during the speeches which were made by all these leaders, there were several barbs, several digs which were taken at the Prime Minister, at the BJP also. But then they kept on exhorting their workers also. And it seems, as I was saying in the report as well, that the biggest challenge for this alliance would be to ensure that they keep their flock together in the entire battle for Bihar.
All right, Vishal Dahiya, we'll have to leave it to that. Thank you so much for joining us there with those details from Patna this morning. Going on now, here's a look at the developments that are likely to take place during the course of the day in our segment, The Day Ahead. First quarter GDP figures for the period of April-June will be released today. The figures are important since Moody's has revised its projections for growth from 7.5 to 7%. The government's projected figure is, however, at 8%. In 2014-15, India's GDP grew by 7.3%, with the GDP in the first quarter of the last fiscal at 6.7%. President-elect of the UN General Assembly, Mogens Lykketoft, will meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi at his residence in the evening. Lykketoft was unanimously elected by the UN General Assembly as the President of the 70th session on June 15th and is scheduled to assume his new responsibilities with the commencement of the session from September 15th. Whistleblower Indian Forest Officer Sanjeev Chaturvedi, who was removed from the post of Chief Vigilance Officer at AIIMS and founder of NGO Goonj, Anshu Gupta, are the two Indians selected for this year's Ramon Magsaysay Award. They will be formally conferred the Magsaysay Award at the Cultural Center of the Philippines. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, social activist and former IPS officer Kiran Bedi and social activist Aruna Roy are among other Indians who have received the award in recent years. A special digital version of epic Ramcharitamanas prepared by All India Radio will be released by Prime Minister Narendra Modi today. The Ramcharitamanas was composed and recorded for the first time in 1980 at Akashvani Bhopal. The Prime Minister will also felicitate some prominent artists at the event. This is part of AIR's attempts to go digital in a big way so that the public broadcaster can reach audiences globally. Allahabad High Court to hear UPSC extra chance case today. On August 21st, the High Court has asked the Union Public Service Commission to file its reply on a petition challenging the extra chance given this year to those civil services applicants who could not appear in the exams held in 2011 on account of the introduction of CSAT. Well, it's time for a short break now, but much more lined up for you on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, Hardik Patel has threatened to intensify his agitation in demand of reservation for the Patel community. He now plans to turn it into a nationwide stir with his attempts to bring the Jat and the Gujjar community along. He will be holding a rally in Madhya Pradesh today.
Sounding of a warning of a nationwide agitation seeking reservation for nearly 27 crore people of various communities, in the face of the Patel stir in Gujarat, Hardik Patel will address a rally in Madhya Pradesh today. Patel made the announcement in Delhi on Sunday, where he met leaders of other economically weaker castes, which have not been included in the other backward classes list. He also met Jat and Gujjar leaders to help turn this into a national movement.
इस देश में 27 करोड़ पटेल समुदाय को एकजुट करना है और इस आंदोलन को पूरे हिंदुस्तान में ले जाना, जहां-जहां हमारे समुदाय के लोग हैं। कम से कम 12 राज्य है, 12 स्टेट अभी तक हमें जुड़े हैं इस आरक्षण की मुहिम में।
22-year-old Patel, who is the convener of the Patidar Anamat Andolan Samiti, gave a 48-hour deadline to the government for compensation to the families of 10 people who died in last week's protests in Gujarat. While confirming the agitation to be non-political, Patel attacked the concept of reservation.
1984 में विरोध हुआ था, उस वक्त मेहनत से लड़ने में मानते थे। आज सिस्टम खोखला हो गया है और युवा बाहर आए, इसलिए युवाओं को आज बेरोजगार नहीं मिल रहा, बेरोजगार है सब लोग। किसान आत्महत्या कर रहे हैं और MBA की डिग्री वाला निकल का सेल्समैन बन जाता है और इस प्रकार यहाँ पर सिस्टम को खोखला, इसलिए युवा बाहर आए।
Earlier on Sunday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had condemned the violence in Gujarat over the Patel agitation.
पिछले दिनों गुजरात की घटनाओं ने, हिंसा के तांडव ने सारे देश को बेचैन बना दिया और स्वाभाविक है कि गांधी और सरदार की भूमि पर कुछ भी हो जाए तो देश को सबसे पहले सदमा पहुंचता है, पीड़ा होती है।
Hardik Patel has galvanized the dominant Patel community in Gujarat on the demand for reservation. His movement gathered momentum after Gujarat Chief Minister Anandiben Patel turned down the demand for reservation. Hardik had led a massive rally on August 25 to press for quota for the Patel community under the OBC category in Ahmedabad. His detention was followed by widespread violence which claimed 10 lives. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on to some international news now, US President Barack Obama has invited Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif for a meeting at the White House in October. The invitation was extended by US National Security Advisor Susan Rice during her two-day Pakistan visit. Rice held extensive talks with the Pakistani leadership as well as Army Chief General Raheel Sharif. While talking about ties with India, Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif told Rice that his country wants a meaningful dialogue with India on all outstanding issues. He also informed her about the reasons that led to the cancellation of NSA-level talks between both countries. In reply, Home Minister Rajnath Singh said that India too wants good relations with its neighbours, but talks will be initiated only if Pakistan stops cross-border firing.
हम लोगों की बराबर यह कोशिश रही है, चाहे पाकिस्तान हो, लंका हो, नेपाल हो, चाहे बर्मा हो, कोई भूटान हो, बांग्लादेश हो, हमारे जितने पड़ोसी देश हैं, हम सारे पड़ोसी देशों के साथ हमारे रिश्ते मित्रवत होने चाहिए, भाईचारे के रिश्ते होने चाहिए। पहली गोली भारत से नहीं चलनी चाहिए, पड़ोसी पर हम पहली गोली नहीं चलाना चाहते, लेकिन यदि उधर से गोली चलती है तो फिर अपनी गोली रुकनी भी नहीं चाहिए, उसका मुंहतोड़ जवाब दिया जाना चाहिए।
Well, in news from Malaysia now, after 2 days of protests demanding Prime Minister Najib Razak's resignation, protesters called off their agitation at the stroke of midnight on Sunday. Singing and dancing on the streets, the protesters ushered in the country's National Day, but vowed to regroup if Prime Minister Najib Razak doesn't step down. Here's more.
Tens of thousands of Malaysians protested over the weekend in capital city Kuala Lumpur and elsewhere, calling for Prime Minister Najib Razak to step down over a financial scandal. Clad in yellow T-shirts, more than 50,000 people gathered near the country's landmark Independence Square, blocking it completely. The agitation ended at the stroke of midnight on Sunday when the country started celebrating its 58th National Day.
Perasaan di sini kita sangat gembira kerana rakyat turun untuk menolak ataupun menyatakan keinginan untuk perubahan. 改变是要靠他们政治里面的调整，不过我觉得至少会给他们有压力，他们会知道我们人民需要什么，然后他们就会进一步的改变。
Former Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad, who was once a patron of Najib Razak, also joined the anti-government protests.
There is no more rule of law. The only way for the people to get back to the old system is for them to remove this Prime Minister.
The Malaysian Prime Minister, however, denied any wrongdoing and said protests against him were not sensible.
Kita menolak sebarang bentuk demonstrasi jalanan yang boleh mengganggu gugat ketenteraman awam dan hanya menyusahkan rakyat.
The main accusation against Razak is that he took $700 million from the indebted Malaysian Development Berhad State Investment Fund to transform Malaysia into a high-income economy. However, the fund board says it never gave money to the Prime Minister as being claimed by him. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on to some sports news now. The fourth and final Grand Slam of the year, the US Open kicks off today. Top tennis stars Serena Williams, Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal will headline play at the tournament. One person who will miss out though is Maria Sharapova, who pulled out due to injury. Here's what's expected this time around at Flushing Meadows.
The fourth and the final Grand Slam event of the tennis calendar begins today as the US Open kickstarts with Williams and Nadal, the star attractions in the evening session of the play. World number one Novak Djokovic is gunning for a third Grand Slam title this season after winning the Australian Open and Wimbledon crowns. While Roger Federer, who claimed a record 7th title at the ATP World Tour Masters in Cincinnati, securing his return to world number 2 in the Emirates ATP rankings, has not tasted victory since 2008 and is taking it one match at a time.
Well, pressure is always present, but it's part of what we do, and it's a privilege in a way.
I feel better probably when I win Wimbledon rather than losing in Wimbledon, but regardless, I'm feeling really good about my game.
Fresh from a win in Cincinnati over Simona Halep in straight sets, defending champion Serena Williams opens her US Open bid against world number 86 Vitalia Dyashenko of Russia, as all eyes turn to Williams and her quest for the first Grand Slam since Steffi Graf in 1988. Williams would also join Maureen Connolly and Margaret Court as the only woman to register a Grand Slam. A US Open win would tie her with Graf on the Grand Slam title list with 22, just 2 behind all-time leader Court.
It feels good to be here. I love it here. It's a place where every player dream of playing every year.
It means a lot to be back here, to be in a good shape, because I had good results the last 2 weeks. I feel good, I feel recovered, and I'm ready to start the tournament.
Meanwhile, world number 3 Maria Sharapova has pulled out of the US Open on the eve of the tournament because of injury. The 5-time Grand Slam winner was due to play Australian world number 37 Daria Gavrilova today. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Some more sports news now. India suffered a top order collapse against Sri Lanka on a dramatic third day of the final test at the Sinhalese Sports Club ground. Despite a 111-run lead, Indian batsmen faltered as Dhamika Prasad and Nuwan Pradeep tore through the top order. India were 21 for 3 in their second innings when rain stopped play for the day, with skipper Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma at the crease. Earlier, Ishant Sharma gave India the advantage, claiming his 7th career 5-wicket haul for 54. Indian bowlers left Sri Lanka tottering at 6 for 67, raising prospects of enforcing a follow-on. However, debutant wicketkeeper Kushal Perera scored a half-century. Rangana Herath also scored a crucial 49 to help Lanka avoid a follow-on.
We're pretty happy after we getting green wicket. So what we need to do is just bowl in the good areas and keep believing in yourself that somehow you'll take wickets. So that's what I've been doing.
Well, that's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a nice day.